Wow, it is December 25, 2023, and welcome once again to the 3-Call Challenge. 3-Call Challenge is a part of our winter revival here at the New Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church, and we are live here at the New Hope Live Desk once again, even on Christmas night. This wonderful opportunity that we have to share with you. Thank you for stopping by tonight. I know many of you have had a busy week. You've had friends and family, loved ones come by, co-workers, classmates, all of that. You've spent time with family. You've reminisced on the times in the past years where you've had good time with family and friends. You've exchanged gifts. You've shared pleasantries. But we've also had the opportunity to reflect the fact that a long time ago, that God sent forth his son, the very best gift that we could ever have. And again, I just want to wish to our audience tonight, our New Hope Church family, those of you that are part of even the Pastors Roundtable group that we're streaming to as well tonight, we want to wish you, on behalf of myself and my colleagues at the Pastors Roundtable, on behalf of myself and the elders and staff at the New Hope Seventh-day Adventist Church, we're wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Listen, I want to talk to you tonight about this thing that we've been doing, the 3-Call Challenge. What a blessing that it has been to me and to many others. Hopefully, as we get into this week, I promised you last week that I was going to have some guests to come on with me and share and talk about this just before we begin. At 7:30 is when we begin. I'm probably going to be roll a little bit into that hour tonight. But listen, I just wanted to share with you some stuff. Man, this thing has been good. It has been very interesting. So I want to tell you, well, first of all, for those of you who don't know what the 3-Call Challenge is, it's on this side. There it is. All right. 3-Call Challenge is, we have decided that this winter revival that we're doing the 3-Call Challenge. Instead of inviting our members into the church and bringing in a speaker, a pastor, to preach during this revival, we decided that we were going to do this revival by accepting the challenge to call 3 people during the time that we would normally be in the building. We would normally be in the building around between 7:30 and 8:30. That would be the programming time. And so we've said we're going to take that time and we're going to be the sermon. We are going to be the message. And so we said we're going to dedicate that time, that hour every night to together call 3 people. One of them would be a family member. One of them would be a church member. One of them would be somebody who does not share our faith and share our fellowship. That we would call them. That might be a friend, a coworker, a classmate, a colleague, whatever that is, but we were just going to call them. And what are we doing in that call? Well, number one, we're not preaching a sermon. We're not giving necessarily a Bible study. What we're doing is letting them know, hey, you're on the radar. I'm thinking about you. I care. Now, a lot of us during this time of year, particularly on this day, we do a lot of that anyway. We call folk that we haven't talked to in a long time, and we just wish them a Merry Christmas and let them know that we're thinking about them. So today might be a little easier than the other days, but we've been doing this for 2 weeks. Have done this for 2 weeks. We started on the 16th, and we're going all the way through the 30th of this month. But every night we're reserving that time, that space. We're trying to be intentional. I know the knee-jerk reaction is to do it at any time that just kind of fits in, but we are dedicating this hour, this time that we've kind of consecrated between us and God, that we're setting aside this time for him and this revival and reaching out and making these phone calls. And so not only are we doing that in the building, not only are we doing that in the New Hope community, but we said we're going to invite our social media friends to join us as well. So those of you that are watching on the New Hope YouTube channel or the New Hope Facebook page or my personal page, the Pastors Roundtable page, we invite you, even the Twittic. I think I'm streaming to Twittic tonight. All of you, you can do this. This is easy. This is something that everybody can do. And we we invite you to join us. The difference that it can make can be reviving to somebody who's going through a very challenging time during this holiday season. I want to share with you, though, just a little bit about my experience, because our time is going to be gone here in quick minute. I started this thing. Oh, let me pull up my comment and see if there's anybody is talking to me tonight. I can't see that if you are, but if you are watching tonight, just go ahead and put a hello in the chat. I'd like to know that you're there. All right. Anyway, I started this thing on the first night on the 16th. Say I'm going to call a family member. I'm going to call a church member. I'm going to call a non-church member. And man, I got into the first call, which was a family member, and my time, I ended up spending almost the entire hour on that phone call with a family member that, to be honest, I don't know that I have ever called in my life. We hang out together when we're in the same area, but I don't think that I've ever picked up the phone and called this family member just to talk. I live on the whole other side of the country. And it was just such a wonderful conversation to be able to have. Actually, that wasn't the first night. That was the other night. But it was just something that left me feeling like, man, I should be doing this more often. We should be reaching out even more. As I, you set plans and set ideas. Hey, we got to stay in touch more, et cetera. And we always say those things, but this 3-call challenge has helped me to be intentional about that. Every now and then we want things, not every now and then, we always want things to be, what's the word? We don't want it to be so programmed and so structured. Some things we want them to be so genuine that it just flows out of us without having to be prompted, without having to be pushed or encouraged to do things like this. And yet, here's what we know is that we want it to be germane. We want it to be something that we just do out of because it's a character. But here's the thing, character is developed with intentionality. Did you hear what I said? Here we go. Character is developed intentionally. So there are some things in my character that are not there right now. Well, how do I get them to become my character? I would love to be everything that I'm supposed to be all at once. Just right now, if I was, everything that was holy was supposed to be holy. Everything was supposed to be structured and organized. And I would love, but here's what I've learned about character. Character must be practiced. The idea is the things in our nature that we want to become our identity and want to shape and form or define or describe rather who we are. We have to work at some of this stuff. And so this is an opportunity for us to practice what we want to be in our character together. And so we're helping each other and we're pushing each other. So, this calling, it was good for that. So I want to tell you about 2 calls. My toughest challenge with this challenge was not the family members, although that tends to you talk, be long conversations. The church members, my phone is full of church members' numbers and people, and it was easy. I went through and just people in my phone that I hadn't seen in a while in church. Those were some of the first ones that I wanted to call and just let them know that I was thinking about them. I did not chastise them about I haven't seen you in church for whatever. Didn't badger them about coming back to church. I just wanted them to know that, hey, I'm thinking about you. You're on my mind. I might have probably said I've missed you. And sometimes that's kind of a low-key pushy, but it was true. I do miss them. But again, that wasn't the point of the call. The point of the call was not to beat somebody over the head and make them feel guilty about not being in church. I wanted them to know that even though I have not seen them, that I see them, that I am seeing them. And so those were those calls, and I made those calls. The most difficult calls for me to make was that third category, the non-church member call. Why? Well, I'm a preacher's kid. I was born, quote unquote, in the church, went to church school the entire way through, from elementary school to middle school to high school to college, even to grad school. My first real job where I was making a salary was with the church. And so I realized that my circle of people in my phone book, I don't have a whole lot of folk that are there that are not church members. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. I suspect that there may be some folk out there who can identify with that. But as I went through my book, I went through my phone book, my address book, and I started finding some folk. And one of the calls that I made was to a gentleman who was a part of the community in one of my previous districts that I pastored. He was a lawyer there. He had run for city council, and later he ran for the Senate, not the Senate, the House of Representatives at the state of Florida. He won the seat, was a very good friend to our church and to our school where I was pastoring at the time. And I said, and I used to run into him in the restaurants around town every now and then, and we would sit and talk and share. And it was just a good vibe and a good rapport that we had. And so I said, he's probably not going to answer this phone, but I'm going to call him and at least, the very least, just leave a message. I called and he answered the phone. Hey, Pastor Paul. Now I haven't talked to him in like 7, 8, 9 years, something in there. Apparently he had my phone, my phone in his my number in his book or his phone anyway. So he knew who I was, and it clicked, and the conversation was like we were old buddies. And we shared about what he was doing. I asked him what he was doing, where he was now, what's going on with him in his life. And he shared some of those things. And it was just such a wonderful and genuine conversation. I didn't invite him to church. Some folk can say, well, Pastor, you should invite him to. I didn't invite him to church. I just wanted him to know that I was thinking about him, that he was on my mind, that he had not fallen off the radar. And then we just got to talk about just regular stuff, life stuff. I won't go into too much detail about that. That was our conversation, but it brought you and it just brought a smile to my face. I don't know if he could. Obviously he could not see it, but just to connect on a human level with somebody, it was just a moving thing for me. And I said I did not invite him to church, but this is what we said. This is what he said before we hung up the phone. He said to me, Pastor, where are you now? And when I told him where I was, he said, oh, and where is that? Man, I got to come see you sometime. I've got to come and visit. He invited himself to church. Now, whether he did or not, and whether he shows up or not, based on that one phone call, that's not as important to me as simply reaching out and making touch. Because here's the reality that I think we all have to come to grips with, and we've got to do this, friends of mine. We sometimes gripe and we complain of how difficult and how hard it is to get people to come to church. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. We say this over and over and over again. The church is not the building. That you are the church, that I am the church. The reason that we cannot, the reason that it seems so difficult for us to get people into the building has to do with the difficulty we have getting people to come to us or to be a part of us. We don't want them to simply be a part of a building or a program. We want them to be a part of us. And if I can get somebody to be a part, it's not even get them. If I can become a part, this is the Christmas story, y'all. This is the incarnation. Jesus left his throne in glory to come down here, incarnate, to become one with us. That is the ultimate work of the church, not of the bricks and the mortar, the stones, the carpet and the pews and the lights. It is the work of the people of the church to have an incarnational presence, an incarnational ministry, just like Jesus did when he left all of glory and was born as a babe in Bethlehem. This is part of the message and the ministry of the season, that we are called like Jesus was, or to be like Jesus, who took it upon himself to become a part of our world. So this is what we're doing. We're trying to become a part of the world, of the people whom God has called us to reach. If we would focus more on that, well, listen, if we would be more intentional about that, then whether they step foot inside of our buildings would matter so much less to us. And we would see a greater yield, I believe, in that area. That people, if you become a part of their world, then they want to be where you are. And if you are in church on Saturdays or Sabbaths or whenever, they want to be with you. And by being with you, they ought to catch a glimpse of Jesus. And when they catch a glimpse of Jesus, then they will want to be with him. So listen, that was just a powerful thing. The next thing, I don't know how much detail I should go into in this next story because my time is getting away from me. But I got to tell you, so my next call for a non-church member. Again, these were my hardest calls. I picked up the phone and I found a name that a young lady that had attended my church here and there, but had never, she was never a member of the church. And I remember she went on a trip with us. One of my churches, we went and did some ministry in New Orleans right after, well, it wasn't right after Katrina, but shortly after Katrina, we went down and it's a mission trip to go and to rebuild some houses and things where people had been put out because of the storm. And they just, for so long, almost 5 years after Katrina, still had not been rebuilt. So we took a bunch of young people. We went down there and we had a wonderful time on this trip. This young lady was a part of the team that went, but she was not a member of the church. She was a friend of some of my kids, the members that were kids that were part of the school, one of the colleges in the area. She was a very vital and important part of that group, very helpful, very engaged in the work that we were doing, very friendly, very open, and just had a personality that just kind of drew you to her, and was very warm. Shortly after we got back, it was maybe about a month or so after we returned from the trip, I got a call one night from her. She was crying on the phone. I'd never seen that side of her, but she was very distraught over an issue that she was going through. And she just said that she needed to talk. I told her I would meet her the next day at the church to come by the office, and we would talk, and we sat down and we began this conversation. And as we talked, she said something to me about her life and about where she was and who she was that I think she thought that I knew, and I did not know. I was not aware of it at all. And the thing, I'll admit, in the moment, it threw me just a little bit, but I tried not to show it because that wasn't the issue that she came to me about. She said, "Pastor, I have an anger management issue. I just get angry over stuff and it's affecting my relationships, and I need to figure it out. I'll say things, I'll do things, and as soon as I say it, I'll regret it, and it was a dumb thing to do, and it's breaking up some of my friendships, and it's messing up some of my relationships, and I just don't know what to do." The thing was just weighing her down. And so rather than to focus, and I'm praying and I'm saying, "God, help me to figure out how to minister to this young lady and to be able to be of a help and assistance to her." And so we did not talk about the thing that did really just kind of surprise me and shook me. It didn't shake me, but it surprised me. We didn't talk about that. We talked about the issue that she had. And I wanted to be intentional in letting her know that that other part of her and her life or her habit or whatever that she revealed to me, okay, that is what that is, but I want to talk to you about that thing that you're going through, because I believe that we serve a God who's able to give you victory, who's able to help you, who's able to make a way out. And so we had that conversation. Shortly after, I moved to a different district, and again, 8-9 years until this phone call in this 3-call challenge. So I called, got her voicemail. I said, yeah, she probably won't even remember who I am. It's been so long. But about, 10, 15 minutes later, the phone rang and I saw it was her. She was calling me back. And I answered the phone and she said, Pastor Paul. And I was like, oh, I guess she didn't forget who I was. And as we just talked and shared, where she was and what she's doing now, I think she told me she is now, I didn't know what she was studying. I didn't know, some of that stuff that she was doing in school. I think at the time she was like in a hiatus from school, but it turns out that she said, yeah, I'm now, what did she say? Pediatric orthopedic surgeon, working in sports medicine as well. And God has just blessed me. And she said, and it turns out that it was like 9-10 years ago that we'd had this encounter, this exchange. And she says, that period in my life was a very rough time, a rough patch for me. And that it was my connection with you and with your church and the people from your church that really helped me make it through that season. And you don't know what encouragement that was for me. I'm the one supposed to be calling and encouraging folk and all of that. But what a powerful encouragement it was to me to know that the efforts that we put forth to just be open and be friendly to people makes a difference in their lives. So I just want you to know that these phone calls that you're doing, it might be the phone call that you make during this 3-call challenge. You may never hear the results of what it meant and the impact and the difference that it made in somebody's life now. It might not be until we get to glory that somebody may come up to you and say, the reason that I'm here, you called in December. I was going through a rough patch. It was a low time. I was discouraged. I was depressed. There was all of this joy and happiness and frivolity going on all around me. And I felt alone, and I felt by myself, and I felt like nobody was paying attention, that nobody remembered. But you called and you said, hello, how are you? And because of that call, it gave me courage to face another day. It gave me courage to not throw in the towel. It gave me hope that all was not lost. Your call can make a difference in this 3-call challenge. It can be this source of revival in a way that no Bible study, that no text could be. God wants to use you. And so I invite you tonight. I invite you for the rest of this week. This is night number 10. We've got, what does that mean? That means we've got about 6 nights left. If you have not participated in the 3-call challenge, I want to invite you to do that beginning tonight. We set aside this time every night, 7:30 to 8:30. Do it with us. Join us. 6 more nights. Write down 6 family members, 6 church members, 6 non-church members, and call 3 of them every night, just letting them know, hey, I'm thinking about you. You're on the radar. Just wanted to catch up with you. You got to pray with them. But don't beat them up. Don't make them feel guilty about anything. Just let them know that you care, and you'll have opportunity. Trust me, if you establish the relationship, you will have opportunity to do all of the teaching and all of the whatever admonition and whatnot that you want to do later on. But you got to establish the relationship and let them know that you care first. That's the first thing. Let's start there. Let me pray with you tonight as we leave. Father, tonight, again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to see the example of Jesus as he divested himself of everything that he had up in heaven, all his power, all of his authority, all of his glory. And Father, he descended into the dregs of humanity to be born as a frail, helpless baby that needed to be fed, that needed to be held, that needed to be nurtured, that had to be cared for. As a part of his own creation, Father, you subjected yourself to humanity to become us so that you could be with us and understand what we go through, the trials that we face, the fears that we face, the failures. Father, you saw it close, up hand and personal. You fought in our flesh. And Father, we're grateful that we see the example of Jesus in that even while he was here in the flesh, he reached out to make a difference in somebody's life by simply letting them know that they were valuable to him, that they meant something to him, that they had a purpose, that there was a calling on their life, that there was something special about them that he valued. And then we saw on Calvary that he valued us so very much that he was willing to give his only son, that Jesus was willing to give his life on Calvary, willing to die because he valued life with us so much. Father, our hearts are ripped up when we think about the idea that in spite of knowing who we are and what we are, that you could not stand the thought of living in eternity without us. And so you died on Calvary, the death that we should have died, so that we could live the life that you should live. Father, as we seek to share that love, to share that sense of purpose and value to those that we call tonight, I'm asking that the power of the Holy Spirit attend our thoughts and attend our words, so that in the end, Jesus will be magnified, that people will know that they are loved, that they are valued, and that a price has been paid so that they can spend forever with you. I ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you, everybody. Again, thank you so very much for joining us tonight in our 3-call challenge. I'm going to be with you all week long, starting again about 7:15 every night, encouraging you, motivating you to make those calls, make those phone calls as we wrap up our winter revival and our 3-call challenge. Once again, we're calling 3 people tonight: a family member, a church member, a non-church member. If you don't get through all of your calls tonight, then spend some time, set aside some time and make them in the morning. But we want you to be intentional about reserving the 7:30 to 8:30 time for these calls. My television is not on from 7:30 to 8:30. I'm not doing anything else. I'm reserving this time. There may be some spillover time that I have to make up outside of that at other times, but we're reserving this time. There's power, friends of mine, when we do stuff together. And so I'm inviting you to do this together with us. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow night.